Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Shine and Thrive podcast. I'm so happy you're here hanging out with me. And I am just so excited to dive into this episode because I'm sharing with you one of my biggest kept freaking secrets about how I document emotion and the story of a wedding so authentically. And this has been a freaking game changer in my business, in how I'm able to story tell, and also in how present I'm able to be on a wedding day and the connections I form with the couple and the family and friends. Like, this has been huge, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy to implement because it took me some time, but again, anything that's worth like having in a way is like you sometimes have to work really hard for it. So I'm going to share with you my biggest kept secret right now. So that is to memorize the names of the immediate family members and the wedding party before every single wedding day. And you're probably like, Sarah, what the how the hell are you able to do that? So I'll talk about that in this episode, and I'll talk about why and the importance and how it ties into me documenting such authentic emotion and all that kind of stuff. So it all starts with me sending out a family and friends questionnaire 5 months before the couple's wedding. And basically, in this questionnaire, I ask okay, what are all the family photo combinations you want? Because I want to be sure to be organized way in advance for like all the family photo combinations. So that's in there too. And then I also ask, what are the immediate family members' names? So list out relationship and the name. Same for the wedding party. I want to know the relationship of each human being in their wedding party because they're so important, right? So I want to know the story behind them too, so I could document their connection as authentically as possible, and the names. And then there are other questions that are really important on that questionnaire. And if you really want to get your hands on those questions, stay tuned to the end of this episode on the podcast, and I'll send you to a link where you can download those questions for free so you can start implementing them in your business. So basically, what I do to memorize these names is I have, once that questionnaire is filled out for my clients, I send those answers to my beautiful virtual assistant, Rachel, who then takes the answers from that questionnaire and creates like a template. So I have a cheat sheet on every single wedding day. It includes all the family photo combinations in the most efficient order, so that we spend as little time as possible there, because it's an important part, 100%. I love that part of the family history needs to be documented, right? The different family combinations and all that. But I also want to be 100% organized so that on that day of, let's say it's a hot, scorching day or people need to go to the bathroom or whatever, that I get through that as efficiently and as fun as possible. So I have her list out all the family combinations in the most efficient order. And then I have a little legend for each, so the bride or partner A, if it's a same-sex wedding, and the other partner, I have a legend for each of their little family units. And in there it says Mom, Sue, Dad, Frank, all the names, and they are color coded. So that helps me kind of memorize. So usually if it's a bride and groom, then it's purple for the girl and green for the guy. And if it's a same-sex wedding, partner A gets purple, partner B gets green. I just keep it green and purple the same all the time. So basically, with that legend, I'm able to have everything organized. I have that sheet with me the whole day in my little mini purse that I carry with me the whole day. And anytime I need a refresher on names, I could pull it out and I have that there. So again, why is this important? Okay, so this is kind of what happens on a wedding day when I arrive, let's say at where the guys are getting ready or the girls are getting ready. Let's say I walk in and let's say the mom opens the door, right? And I know I'm arriving maybe at the bride's getting ready area. And so if there's an older lady opening the door, it's most likely her mom, right? So she opens the door. I'm like, oh my gosh, hi. Are you blank's mom? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, you must be Sue then. It's so nice to meet you. And when I say that, they are blown away, and I could see the barrier of entry to the trust of that person just drop. They initially right away they see me in a different light. They trust me they trust me more. They maybe start to like me, and then that kind of opens up their heart to the idea of like, oh, okay, she really cares about how she documents this day because she took the time to know who I am and know my name. And sometimes they're even like, whoa, like, how do you know that? I'm like, I did my homework because you're a really important part of the day, right? And that's why. And then of course, like I go into the room and I see all the bridesmaids hanging out, and first thing I do is I hug the bride. I'm like, oh my gosh, yay, so excited. So like, I'm so excited for today. I hug them. Oh my gosh, this is making me so excited for wedding season coming up. And then I go through and I introduce myself to every single bridesmaid and every single person that's there. And usually, you know how it is. It's usually just bridesmaids, but sometimes there's more people. But as I'm introducing myself, I already know the names in my head. And then I'm matching faces to the names, which it takes a lot of practice, but it's possible to get there. And I repeat the name. So if they're like, oh, I'm Sally. Oh, so nice to meet you, Sally. I'm Sarah. And I usually do hugs because I want them to feel like, hey, I'm here for you. I care about you. You're an important part of the day. So I just like walk in with a ton of like loving energy, because as soon as someone feels good vibes and love coming off of someone, it just like melts them, and they feel the space to be free to be who they are. And that's, again, part of my strategy. So I don't do handshakes, I do hugs. And I like, yeah, that's just kind of what I go for. So if you're wondering, like, how the hell do you memorize the names? So number one, I have them laid out in a way that for me, it's easy to photograph. Like, you know how some people can have a photographic memory? It's kind of funny because I'm a photographer, I have a photographic memory. I don't know if all photographers have that because we're visual people. I don't know. But I've trained myself in a way to have a photographic memory to kind of like look at a piece of paper, like a little section on a piece of paper, let's say only the bridesmaids' names. And then I memorize them in order. So I keep repeating them to myself in order. And then I can kind of see that picture in my head of them in order. So like Ashley, Mary, Sally. Ashley, Mary, Sally, like over and over. And then once I've done that, I go to the next step to keep those names in my brain. And I go to the whole idea of like remembering by association. So let's say I'm like, okay, Ashley. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember I photographed a wedding where the bride's name was Ashley. So, okay, I know an Ashley. Okay. And then Sally. And I think of like, so personally, I've actually never met a Sally. So whenever it's a name that I've never actually like met someone, so I can't associate them to anyone, I just I could either pick a rhyming word like rally, Sally, rally. And then I think of cars. So I'm like, okay, rally, car, Sally. And then somehow it just sticks in my head and I remember the name Sally. So that's how I do it. So number one, photographic memory. I kind of repeat them over and over again in my head, and I remember the order of them, and then I take a kind of picture of that little section, and then I memorize the names by association. So I remember people that I've met in the past that have had that name, and it sticks like this. It's so interesting. So that's part of the way I do it. But just so you know, I'm not perfect. I can't be like, oh yeah, every single wedding I memorize every single name and every single wedding party member. Because sometimes if there's a wedding party of like 12 people total, that gets hard, especially because you're walking into a room with so many people, there's so much excitement, and for you to automatically match faces to names right away can be really like overwhelming. So I'm still not perfect there, but I still do a really good job as throughout the day, I keep like listening of like, oh, who are they calling that name? And then I have my little list in my purse that I keep looking at. And I'm like, okay, that's their name. Because throughout the day, like if let's say it's cocktail hour and I remember one of the bridesmaids' names and I'm just like, oh no, actually even better, right? During the photos of like the wedding party, if I'm calling out people's names, they just like, they're like, I like this girl. Because all of us as humans, the sweetest thing we can hear is our name, right? As soon as I know, for me, as soon as someone that I just met says, oh, hey, Sarah, I'm like, oh, they know me, they know who I am, and they care enough to have remembered my name. And for some reason, it's such a beautiful thing, but I feel so comfortable to just be myself and like get closer to them and like talk about life. So that's what I do. So like during the wedding party photos, I'm like, oh, Ashley, like, could you like scooch over a little bit closer? Or or when I do just like photos of like the bride with each of the girls or the groom with each of the guys alone, then maybe the groom's name is Zach. And then I'm like, oh, Zach, okay, how about you and David now? And then people are blown away by this. They're like, how do you remember all of these names? And so again, that has been huge because everyone just opens up in front of you. Like instead of it being like awkward family photos or wedding party photos, you're there and you feel like you're part of the group actually, and everyone really respects you, and then they trust you even more. So guess what? I get less of like people being like, hey, how about like you try this, or let's go over here for a photo. Even though that's great in some like sometimes, I love when people can, if it's something that they know is important to the couple and they like let me know about it, they're like, hey, like how about doing a photo there, because earlier in the day she mentioned to me that that spot is special. That's amazing. But you know how sometimes we get people that want to take a little bit more control and they're just like, oh, like how about that spot for a photo, how about that spot, and you're in the moment you're kind of like, if you're suggesting, it can't get creative in my mind, and it's like kind of cutting off my creative process. So I get less of that now because people are like, she has this. Like, so that has been another trickling positive effect of all of this. So basically, if you're wondering how you can even, make this happen for yourself, I'm going to be honest. This is it's a simple, like hack, right? It's a simple strategy to having people open up in front of you more and trust you, but it's not easy to implement. It takes practice. Like it took me 1 to 2 years of practice. This is something that I literally have never heard of anyone doing. I made this up myself. I created this little system for myself, and I didn't tell couples that I was doing this. I just kept practicing and practicing because I wanted to figure out genuinely. I'm like, how can I create a way better experience than I'm already creating? Like that's one of my passions in life is to be like, how can I create an even better experience this year and the next year? And I always want to one-up myself on the experiences that I've been providing people, whether it's through teaching or through documenting memories for people. So yeah, I was just like hungry and trying to figure out how can I make my experiences that I offer my couples even better. So I just implemented this and experimented. And when I noticed how much it was actually positively impacting not only how confident I felt on the wedding day, because I didn't feel awkward anymore, I just felt like I was part of the group. Also, during like the candid parts of the day, how people opened up. So like in the beginning of the day when it's like a little like, oh, people are getting ready, they're just meeting you for the first time, like people open up to me like this. It's crazy. So it took me 1 to 2 years of practicing quietly to myself and just doing this on wedding days. Then finally, when like over 2 years came around and I was like nailing every single wedding where I was just like mostly remembering people's names, I got to the point where it could be now my kind of point of differentiation. So like if a couple reaches out and we chat over email, or they want to do a little phone call for 5 minutes just to see like, hey, we just had a question for you before we're comfortable to move forward, then they would be like, tell us about how you work. Then that would be something that I would talk about. I'd be like, I believe that a wedding day isn't just about the bride and the groom. It's also about all the other people involved. And I don't want to just make you two feel comfortable. I want them to feel comfortable too, because I understand how nerve-wracking it could be to be in front of a camera all day. And then they don't know this person is taking photos of them. So, and then also with me wanting to document such authentic emotion, part of my secret sauce to doing that is to memorize their names ahead of time. And then I give an example saying like, oh, hey, you must be Sue, if it was the mom. And the couple is like, whoa, we have never heard anyone say that before. And that's so amazing that you put so much effort into that and heart. And their confidence about hiring me goes through the roof because they know that their family and friends, the people that they care about most, are going to be well taken care of. They're going to feel comfortable. And that will make them feel less stressed on the day. It'll make them feel like everything is running more smoothly. So this is just something that has so many positive trickle-down effects into the day, into the experience, into the photos. Oh my gosh, like I've been getting such way better candid photos since I implemented this. So that's the secret. That's like my biggest kept secret, and I hope you get a lot of value out of this. So if you do want all of the questions that I do ask on the family and friends questionnaire that I send 5 months before the wedding day, head over to sarahmonica.com, Sarah no H, Monica with a K, /18. So sarahmonica.com /18. And that's where you'll get your hands on all these questions. And then the questions that are at the very bottom are also golden. Like, you're gonna love those. So basically, just to give you a bit of a sneak peek of those questions at the bottom, if you ask those questions, you know exactly who are the most important people to pay attention to from the whole wedding. And those questions will help you know exactly what emotions to look out for and when and where and between who. And that's how you create the most meaningful photographs for your couples. So yeah, I really, really would love to hear if this like blew your mind, because I know that this is something that blew my mind over time as I implemented it. I want to know if it helped you gain a new perspective. So please DM me if it did. Also, if you have a friend that feels like they don't know how to improve their client experience, please share this episode with them, because I mean, if we all do a better job at just like being love at wedding days and seeing everyone that's meant to be seen, not just the bride and groom, seeing everyone, I mean, wedding photography as a whole in the world is going to go to such a more positive space. More people are going to have more photos that they really, really cherish between their favorite people, that are just so authentic. So together, if we share this message, we can positively impact the world and positively impact the type of memories that couples are getting. So yeah, thank you again for hanging out with me. I'm so grateful for you, and I'll see you next time.